take it to the next level. Now, in today's video, what we're going to do is share with you 8 tips on how to film, create, and produce more video content. Some of these tips you can also use for blogging as well if you're focused more on the writing process, but specifically honed in, we're going to look at the YouTube section and video creation process. So let's get started and let's take a look. I want to start with tip number 1, and that is to brain dump your headlines. So when you're first creating all your headlines and creating all your ideas for your video content, first do a brain dump, whether you're using Excel, a spreadsheet of some sort, Airtable, or just doing it in a notepad file or a notebook. It doesn't really matter the tool that you use specifically. What's more important is just do an initial brain dump to get a lot of ideas going and cooking inside your head. The second tip is to have your studio ready. If you go ahead and constantly have to set up your studio before you film and then take it down and then set it back up the next day, this is a lot of downtime process that you just have to gear shift on and off. Now, I understand some of you that are working in a small space, could be an apartment where you just don't have the room, you have to take it down. That's totally understandable. But if you can, allocate a region, portion of your house to your studio or filming space. Sometimes it's even wiser to maybe have a studio outside that's kind of, hey, I just have to take my camera out and I'm kind of good to go. But this, of course, you do have some weather problems and weather conditions that could create some issues. In either case, having a studio ready to go allows you to just film at any given moment very quickly. The next thing, and tip number 3, is batch your tasks. So let's just say you have 50 videos to do. Well, it might be wise to record those 50 videos over a 2 to 3 day period, and then again over the next 2 to 3 day period do some editing, then 2-3 day period to go ahead and do some descriptions within YouTube, or even do the tags, create the thumbnails, and that kind of thing. If you batch the processes in segments, it makes things more efficient rather than, again, hopping in, doing a video editing, then shifting your mindset, shifting your gears to, hey, now I have to open up Photoshop and do a thumbnail, or now I have to go and do the tags or upload into your, let's just say you're doing a podcast, into your podcast platform. Instead, when you have all those videos created, if you need to upload all those videos into podcasting format or an MP3 format, then you do 10 at a time or 50 at a time. Doing it in batches just makes things much more efficient. So, which brings me to tip number 4, is to create templates. When you're filming and you're doing a lot of processes that are the same, whether that's looking at creating thumbnails, looking at uploading into SoundCloud or Buzzsprout or Libsyn, any kinds of things that you're doing on a repetitive basis, it's good to have a template. So for example, we use a template for when we do thumbnails, and the thumbnails are very similar, and they might be very similar for 3 to 6 months, where we just change the color, adjust 1 or 2 things, and then go to, maybe switch up that thumbnail or make a little bit of change or adjustment. So look to have some templates, whether it's for your name. Like right now you're seeing a video with a little corner piece. This is a template that I use and reuse, not just for this type of show, but also for other shows that I have on my other YouTube channel. So once you have that template in place, it allows you to reuse things time and time again, and maybe all you do is just switch kind of the logo on the side or something to that effect. So having templates allows you to speed up that workflow by just making 1 or 2 single changes, and it creates a little variation. And you'll also see a template towards the end of this video on my outro screen as well, so keep an eye out on that. Tip number 5, find techniques for efficiency. Now, one of the things that I do now, if you've seen some of my glassboard videos or videos where I'm kind of not in the studio or not filming on screen, actually what I've done to speed up that process is to go ahead and have a very long cable, and it directly streams into my computer. So what that allows me to do is, what I used to do is go ahead, take my camera, put it into the studio space, do the recording, take out the memory card, put the video in the computer, and then do the editing that needed to be done. Instead, now I've saved that time frame from taking out the video card and putting it in to just having a long cord and boom, using that longer cord allows me to just directly feed it into the computer. Just hit start on the computer. I'll trim maybe the beginning, I'll trim maybe the end, and that's about it. So that's kind of really speeds up the workflow and process. Some skateboarders, what they do when you're looking for creating good clips or clips that take multiple times, they may put a hand on the camera, and that allows you to say, hey, that was a good take or that was a bad take. Whatever you want to do. Clapping, the same thing. Using clapping techniques allows you to sync audio and video. Finding multiple techniques that really just speed up your process for efficiency can help you speed up and compress your workflow. Some people use tape when they're looking for studio setup, and if you have to tear your studio down and set it back up, you can use tape as another way to speed up that efficiency. So that's another tip for you as well. Tip number 6 is simplify the process. I know that sometimes we want really great and cool videos, have some effects, do something that's, in our industry where someone creates some really nice videos, adds in some music, and they have killer videos, and maybe you're looking for those things as well. But sometimes it's just a lot more work. And instead, the better approach is to simplify the process. Focus on creating really great quality content, and eventually you'll slowly start adding in things and components that make sense to you. I remember I used to put in music at the beginning of my videos. A lot of other people were doing it as well. Creates a little nice dynamic introduction to your videos. But I also found that to be very distracting for people that were just looking to listen to the lesson or training lesson. So now, instead of doing that, I just cut right to the chase, do it without the music, and in fact it saves me a great deal of time, and many people actually prefer it that way as well when I took a poll and survey. So look at how you can simplify the process. Same thing here, looking at these slides that we do. They're not overly complicated. There's not graphics all over the place all the time, new images. It's just really text. Sometimes we'll use images and things like that, but overall it's simple. We don't make it that complicated, and that saves time. It saves energy, and it just allows us to create more great content in the future. So look how you can simplify the process. Whether it's just shifting a few colors, and now you've got different types of videos, maybe shifting the font style, and again, you've got a different look and feel. All those things could really make your videos be a little bit different by just shifting small little concepts within your video. Let's look at tip number 7, and that is to cut the slack. And by this, what I'm talking about is look at where you can reduce the slack within your composition, within creating your videos, within editing your videos. Where is the slack? So it takes a certain amount of time for the production time, editing time, and all the way to completion. So where is that slack? For me, the way that I've done it is, I've mentioned before, taking a long cord so I don't have to take out the memory card, and I put the cord right into the computer, and it allows me to just directly record into the computer with my camera. Other things that I've done to reduce and cut the slack is I stopped writing scripts for my videos. Instead, now I do bullet points, okay? And eventually maybe that'll go away as well, but I find that having bullet points allows me to stick to the concept that I want to give or talk about and discuss. So looking at, instead of writing out a script and then trying to stick to that script and then making mistakes and doing multiple cuts and edits, instead now I just have bullet points, and I strive and focus on just talking and discussing those bullet points rather than on following a script. So again, look at your process of where is the slack. Maybe you have to run upstairs to change your shirt and do a wardrobe. Instead, you might want to have kind of 4 or 5 shirts right next to where you film or near the camera, where you could just go ahead and switch that, so you can just, boom, do it right away instead of going to your bedroom if you're filming in your kind of a studio or a different room. So look at where that slack is and see how you can compress it or reduce it, because every time you go upstairs to your bedroom or maybe to another room to get your shirt out, it just takes that much longer. Whereas instead, if you had everything that you needed right there where you're ready to film, again, it allows you to reduce that time and just focus more on production rather than the gear shifting that has to take place in the setup process. And tip number 8 is outsource what you can. The video production process, from what we do, It starts from just the brainstorming part, which is not something I can outsource. And then it gets into the filming, the editing. Then we have to upload it to YouTube. We do the tags, the end screen. We even output it to SoundCloud, Buzzsprout, social medias, all those things. But many of those things we can outsource, right? So as a content producer and a content creator, if you have a YouTube channel and you're creating videos, what you can do is once that video is created, well, you could have someone else maybe create or develop your end screens. You could have someone else upload it to your podcast if you're taking your video and converting it to a podcast. You could have someone else doing your descriptions within your videos. So see what you can outsource. I know initially when you're just getting started, you might not be able to do this or afford this, or maybe it's not feasible. But initially, this will really save you a bit of time to even creating thumbnails. And then you can take that time, instead of creating thumbnails and doing all the YouTube administrative tasks, you could spend it on creating more high value content. So anyways, I hope these tips were helpful and insightful to giving you some ideas of where you can save some time to speed up the production process to making more videos, creating more great content, and connecting with your audience a little bit better. Now, if you want to join me on my newsletter list where I share some other great business strategies and tips, go ahead, click this link right here. Get on the newsletter list by entering your name and email address, and I'll send you those videos as they are released weekly. But if you just want to hang out on YouTube, then just hit the subscribe button right below here, and that way you get notified as I release new videos. And by the way, this itself is also